only 22, but he already has a world record to his credit, and he's the future hope of India's bowling. Of course, he's had his bad moments, but he's come through them with a big smile. So what's the secret of his success? Stick with me as I find out when I talk to Ajit Agarkar. Welcome to the program, Ajit.
Thanks, sir.
You were born into a family where both your parents are working. What sort of childhood was it?
Although my parents worked, it was never a problem because they never were out of the house, or they never worked till late. So we are a very close family, and that's the way it's been, even though they were working.
Now, there are just the four of you, your parents, yourself, and your younger sister, Manik. Are you very close to your sister?
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to get a little closer to her, but
I mean, as a young boy, you weren't close to her at all.
not really. We did get along, but we had our
Problems.
bad times, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I get along with her now.
And as the only son, were you spoiled?
Not really. I was a very good kid, not bratty at all.
You took to cricket very early. It was quite obviously your favorite game from the word go. But I gather that as a child you spent most of your time breaking the neighborhood windows each time you batted.
Yeah, that happened because the place where I used to live, we used to probably play every single day there, and there were quite a few window panes broken, and that's probably the reason I took up cricket seriously.
So that you didn't have to break windows and you could perhaps play on a pitch instead
Yeah,
more safely.
there were a lot of complaints coming home, so that's when my parents decided that I'd rather go and play on the ground rather than in the building, and
There was one of your uncles, Mr. Patekar, who noticed your talent. Did he have a tough time convincing your parents to send you to cricket classes?
Not at all, actually. My father's, always loved cricket, and when my uncle suggested that, at least during the vacations, let him go and, just play. So he was for it, absolutely. I mean, he never had a problem with it.
Now, he took you first to Shivaji Park, where, by good luck, the coach wasn't present. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, we went to Shivaji Park, Gymkhana, and luckily the clinic there wasn't working on that particular day. The coach wasn't present. And that's why when we were coming back, we met Sandeep Patil's father, and that's when my uncle asked him where he should take me if I had to, play cricket. And he suggested that if it was going to be on a serious basis, might as well take him to Ramakant Achrekar.
When Mr. Achrekar first saw you, he thought that you were too small and slight to be a cricketer. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the first thing he said. I mean, how would he cope up? He's too tiny and thin. But once I started playing, he just found out that yeah, I could play.
Did he put you through some sort of test? Did he sort of want to convince himself that you were the right person to be taken on?
No, he just said let him come and play, and then we'll see how it goes. Because I was just going there for the vacations, he didn't have a problem. He said just send him and I'll have a look at him. So.
But obviously he worked miracles with you, because it wasn't long thereafter that you were taking part in inter-school competitions like the Harris Shield.
Yeah, I mean, the school I was in at that time, IES, never had a cricketing team. I mean, never had a cricketing background, and that's why I had to. Once he saw me play, he wanted me to shift to the school he was coaching, Shadashram. So basically, it all started from there.
And when you began these inter-school competitions like the Harris Shield, was there ever in your mind a conflict between cricket and classes?
Not initially. The first couple of years, I was just playing school cricket. It wasn't the junior levels had not started yet. I mean, I was there in the team, but the cricket didn't occupy. I used to practice all around the year, but it wasn't that I never got to study. But once after those initial couple of years, yeah, obviously cricket took
priority.
Priority, yeah.
In fact, in those days, you were a batsman rather than a bowler. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's how he spotted me, batting in the nets. So, and I started off as a batsman. I used to bowl then, but obviously not as much as I do now.
In fact, you have a great score in the Giles Shield against St. Xavier's in '96. You scored a whopping 345. How many hours did you spend at the crease?
Yes, about 7.5, 8 hours. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably, you don't expect to get 300 every day.
Did you cherish that memory still?
Yeah, I do. I mean, 300 is a lot of runs.
So after that incredible batting performance, how did you then switch to bowling?
I used to bowl even then, but wasn't as much, as like I have been for the past 3 or 4 years now. I used to bowl, but we had such a good team that you don't.
There was no need for you to bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I still used to love bowling, and I was the captain, so I used to have the ball all the time.
So you'd always look for opportunities to put yourself in instead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but batting was obviously the priority then.
But is it true that in fact the opportunity really came your way one day one of the pace bowlers just didn't show up and you had to take his place?
Yeah, in the club game, in fact, Sachin turned up for that game. It was just after the off season was getting over for him, and we were bowled out cheaply, and the main bowler didn't turn up that game, so I was given the new ball, and I picked up a couple of wickets in 2 overs or 3 overs, and that's when he first saw me bowl. So
What advice did he give you?
no, he was, I think, he was quite impressed with the way I was bowling, and he said he just asked me to concentrate a lot more than I was at that time on my bowling. That's when my captain also realized that I could bowl and started to bowl me a lot more in the.
So clearly one thing led to another and very soon you were into the big time. In 96, 97, you made your Ranji debut for Bombay against Gujarat. Were you nervous?
Yeah, very nervous. I mean, I never dreamt of playing for Bombay as a bowler when I started off my cricket, but yeah, it was it's probably one of the special moments in my life to the debut for Bombay. But yeah, I was very nervous, but luckily we played the one day before the 4 day game, the actual first class game, and I had bowled about my quota for 2 wickets or something, and I bowled decently well, so that sort of calmed me down for the first class game ahead.
Now there were two great tours that happened almost one after another. The first was the tour of Sri Lanka with the under-19 team. Do you remember that?
Yeah, very much. I think that was probably one of the best tours I have had in the junior cricket as well. Anshuman Gaikwad was the coach then, and I got about 16 wickets in 3 tests there, and we won the test series
And a century as
and
well.
100 in the second test. So, and we won that test series 2-0. So yeah, it was
They
a great
said that
tour.
you virtually ploughed through the Sri Lankan opposition single-handedly.
Yeah, I was starting to bowl well at that particular time, and yeah, just got the things right at that time.
And then shortly afterwards was the tour of Pakistan with the A team. Now, that was a great moment for you because that's when you really got recognized as a cricketer of international class.
Yeah, because I mean, Pakistan obviously, the rivalry, what it is like, and that was probably the first Indian A tour to Pakistan for a long time. I don't know whether there was anyone before that. And I had started the season. It was a pretty ordinary season till then for me. I just done well in the Duleep Trophy and the other trophy. That's how I got picked for the A team, and obviously getting those 16 wickets was definitely the turning point.
Karachi was the high point. You got 9 wickets in the Karachi test alone. What was it that made that special for you? The pitch or your own confidence or just bad batting by the Pakistanis?
Uh, I guess by then I was, peaking in my bowling. We lost most of the previous 2 tests because of rain, but I still picked up wickets in those tests, and I just got the confidence going, and that is all that matters. And we knew that we were going to have a full game here, and I got to bowl a lot more overs in this, and just the confidence was there basically.
Confidence really makes the big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess the ultimate difference. Yeah.
Shortly after you came back, you were chosen to play for India against Australia at Kochi. But it wasn't the most auspicious of days to make your debut, was it?
No, but it wasn't bad for India. I mean, we still won that game, and it was a special day, the April Fool's Day, but making a debut for India is obviously a special moment.
Now, when one makes a debut for India, clearly it's the subject of every young cricketer's dream. What went through your mind when you walked out onto the field for the first time?
Actually, when we were in the bus to the stadium in the morning, I was very, very nervous, and luckily we batted first and got a big total on board, and obviously that helped. You know, having runs on board, 300 plus runs. It was a very high scoring game, and that helped that you had some runs, on the board to sort of defend. And
But you had to come out in a little while after that to bowl for India.
yeah, but I've never had problem once I was in the field, nor with the crowds or with playing big teams or anything. It's just luckily we batted first, and that sort of helped me.
So
to
nerves
calm down.
disappear the second
Yeah.
you actually start playing.
Yeah,
And when you
absolutely.
took that wicket, your first wicket for India, was there a real thrill that went through you?
Yeah, I wasn't excited or anything, but yeah, I knew that I'd got my first wicket. But the game was at such a moment that Gilchrist was my first wicket, Adam Gilchrist. So by then they were smashing us, and yeah, I got him out, and yeah, but it wasn't like I was very excited.
You
After
just
the
took it in
game
your
was over,
stride.
yeah.
Now, your next debut was a few months later in Harare, and this time it was a test debut. Is a test debut different to a one-day debut? Does it mean more to a cricketer?
Yeah, for me personally, yeah, at least. I mean, I think most of the cricketers would agree with me that that's the ultimate test you can have. So that was probably the most special moment in my life, and my test debut wasn't a great debut, but yeah,
Why, what went wrong? You didn't play as well as you wanted to?
yeah, obviously it wasn't. I mean, you keep waiting for that all your life, and when it doesn't happen, it's not the best thing to happen. But unfortunately, we lost the test match, but it still is a special moment.
Ajit, let's take a break. I want to come back in part two and talk about all the amazing things that you went on to do when your career as an international cricketer really took off. We'll be back in just a couple of moments. Stick with us. Welcome back. My guest is Ajit Agarkar. Ajit, let's talk about some of your great achievements. The amazing thing is that you've only been playing international cricket for 2 years, and yet you have a world record to your credit. Did you surprise yourself when you got the fastest 50 wickets in one-day cricket?
No, when I played for India, I was really bowling well. I mean, yeah, obviously you don't expect to get 50 wickets in 23 games, but I mean when you start off. But I mean, it's good that you have a record against your name. But I mean, that's that all comes into account when you probably retire. But that's not the thing in my mind right now. But yeah, I was obviously happy when I got those 50.
In fact, to get it, you had to overhaul none other than Dennis Lilly's record, who was the previous holder. I mean, how much has luck got to do with this, and how much is it to do with just going through a great patch?
A lot, I guess. Form really matters a lot. I mean, when you have good form, everything just works for you. So that's luck as well. I mean, but obviously you worked hard all these years for all this to fall into place. So I mean, yeah,
Your fans say that, in a sense, perhaps your best bowling happened in Sri Lanka during the Singa Akai Cup of '98 against New Zealand, and I think you ended up with 4 for 35. Is that a special moment for you?
well, yeah. I mean, we weren't winning that game. They were cruising, and I got those 4 wickets at the end. I mean, the 3 wickets and two of the batsmen who had settled in, and obviously we went on to win that game. So
In fact, by the time they brought you on to bowl, there was a lot of pressure because, as you said, the batsmen weren't getting out. So were you really pushing yourself, or did things just fall into place?
they do. I mean, you are working to a certain plan, but obviously it has to work. It doesn't work all the time, but that day, it had to happen. It's just we played to a plan and won. It's obviously, I mean, whenever I pick up a wicket for India, it's always special. But when it helps to win the game, I mean, that
That
is
really
all
makes a
that
difference.
matters. Yeah.
Now, you've taken 4 wickets at least 3 times, but you've never really taken 5 wickets in international cricket in an innings. Is that something that you've set yourself as a target to achieve?
Well, that's always a thing a bowler wants, a 5 wicket haul. I mean, that's, I've never got it so far, not in the test or the one days. That's, I mean, obviously it is at the back of my mind, but I guess when it has to happen, it will. I mean, you just don't go trying for it, and it probably never happens.
Presumably, the harder you try, the more unlikely you are to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, it, you know, keep thinking about it and becomes even tougher.
How
The day
much
it has
do
to
you
happen, it
believe
will.
in things like luck? Because obviously, luck makes the difference between 4 wickets and 5.
Yeah, but unless you know, you make your own luck, but obviously luck plays a important part, but you've got to work hard as well and just, keep at it.
Are you superstitious?
Not really. I mean, not really. There are a few habits I have, but not really superstitious in a way.
Just things that reassure you and settle you down before you
I guess because over these years you get used to a certain sort of pattern before you go for a game or before you do something. So that's probably a habit more than a superstition.
Now, you've also had some great moments with the bat. Would you say that Sharjah in '98 against Sri Lanka, when you virtually single-handedly won the match for India in the dying overs, is really the best memory of the lot?
I guess, yeah, because we needed almost 30 runs in 3 overs, and yeah, I got 26 of them. So obviously, yeah, I mean,
When you walked in as the ninth man, were you aware that the burden was going to fall on you, or did you, like everyone else, think that Robin Singh's over there and maybe he'll just do it and I have to help him along?
yeah, but on that day, Robin wasn't really striking the ball as well as he normally does, and uh, it was a simple equation. We had to get boundaries to win the game. So I mean, that day, I connected, and we
Not
managed
just
to get.
connected, you got two huge sixes, didn't you?
Yeah, which I mean that over virtually finished the game. I mean,
While you were there for those 2 overs that really turned the whole game around, were you conscious that you were playing some of your best, or were you not even trying to
I
think about it?
yeah, I guess you don't have time to think about it when you have 30 of 3 overs. I mean, you just have to watch the ball and try and hit it. And is on the days like these, everything works for you. So
And when you came out and the entire team came to greet you, was that also a special moment?
it was. I mean, winning a game for India is obviously a very special moment. Any game, I mean, so it was.
Now, sadly, you also had your fair share of bad moments. For instance, the World Cup didn't go too well for you. What do you think went wrong?
There wasn't anything that particularly went wrong. Against the South Africans, I had a bad over, and against the Zimbabweans, I didn't bowl well. But I thought I was probably the first time I was playing in England. I was just the conditions were a lot different than what I've ever played before. But it just generally was a matter of confidence, just getting things right. And
Was it also nerves, your first World Cup?
I don't think I'd played enough one-day cricket by then, and wasn't the nerves. It's just that I couldn't get the ball in the right place, basically.
Sadly, you also got dropped for about 4 or 5 tournaments thereafter. When that happens and you're only 22, is it difficult to take? Is it very disappointing and hurtful?
Uh, I wasn't exactly dropped for it, but yeah, it was because of the injury I suffered after the World Cup as well. But I mean, it's not. If you're doing well, you're in the team. If you're not, it's you know.
How
You're
much,
not,
how
I
much
mean.
of a role has injury played since the World Cup? Some of your critics say that ever since his first stress fracture, he hasn't been able to bowl as well as he used to.
I don't think so because I mean, injuries are bound to happen for any sportsman. It's just a part of any sportsman life, and more
Particularly for a pace
for a
bowler.
bowler. Yeah, I guess. I don't think it's played a part. I mean, it's just the way you look at it. I had a great 98 where I picked up those 50 wickets before the injury. So I mean, that's how it'll go. I mean,
So these are things that you just take in your stride, and commentators will always try and look for explanations.
absolutely. I mean, you don't expect to pick up 50 wickets every 20 games. I'd love to do that, but I mean,
Okay, let me put something else the commentators say. They say that Ajit's strike rate is better than, say, Srinath or Kumble, but his economy rate is not as good. Is that something that concerns you?
it does, obviously. I mean, you don't like to give runs away, and I have been working on it. I've been, decently economical in the last few games. I've obviously learned a lot of things in, you know, the way we've been playing cricket. But the other thing to remember is I've played most of my cricket in the subcontinent here, and not many games away from India. And the games were 300 runs a game. I mean, very high scoring games. So. But I'm definitely working on it. I don't like to give away runs.
Now, the interesting thing is in the recent tour of Australia, your bowling improved considerably, but things went wrong with the batting.
Wrong is an understatement, I guess. I mean, yeah, just one of those things. You don't, as much as you try, you wouldn't get out first ball 4 times in a row. I mean, it's just a unfortunate thing.
Do you get embarrassed when people remind you of it?
Uh, I wouldn't say embarrassed. It's just was a tough thing to happen.
Yeah.
But I guess I've learned from it as well.
And the problem is, once it starts happening, you sort of begin to psych yourself, don't you? And it becomes a self-conscious problem.
I wasn't there too long to think about it. I mean, one ball, whether I was hitting it or defending it, I was just getting out. Just one of those things which has happened in life, and just have to move on from it.
Luckily, everything went very right for you when you were playing against South Africa just afterwards. But did you feel under a lot of pressure when you came out to bat in the first test?
Yeah, in the first innings, yeah. I mean, when you've got out 4 times with the first ball, obviously it's there at the back of your mind. Well, luckily, against South Africa, I managed to get a 4 of the first ball, and since then it was all right.
In fact, you had some great performances against South Africa. In one of the tests, you got 41 not out. Did that reassure you?
Yeah, I mean, you always like to get some runs after such a bad patch, and yeah, I just struck the ball well in that game and managed to.
Well, when we're not going through a bad patch, and particularly if it's, a continuous bad patch, how difficult is it to keep your own self-belief going?
Yeah, the good part was I was bowling well in Australia. The bowling wasn't a concern, and yeah, batting. I mean, I batted for an hour and a half in the first innings of the first test, and then I got those 5 ducks. And I couldn't do much about them. Thinking wasn't going to help, although you tend to think about
So
it.
do you put it out of your mind, or do you actually make a special effort to concentrate and say to yourself, I've got to work out the problem? Which is your approach?
I don't think there was a problem at all. I mean, nothing with, where the technical aspects concerned. It was just that I was getting out the first ball. I mean, whether I was hitting the ball or defending it.
Let's talk a little bit about your personal life. Today, Ajit Agarkar is no longer the shy little boy from Shivaji Park. You're now a big household name. Has fame and glory changed your life?
But I guess that's part of the package. I mean, it's bound to happen. It has changed a little bit. It's, no more like it used to be. But I mean, that tends to happen.
When you say it's changed a little bit and it's no more like it used to be, what are the sort of things you have in mind?
Where I can't, like move about freely as I used to, or do things probably I would have done otherwise. Just those sort of things. Generally, I mean, I tend to just be as I was or I am, but there are certain restrictions now.
I mean, basically, I can see that you're a shy person and you're perhaps a little introverted. Do you find that when you're constantly surrounded by people asking for autographs or wanting to shake your hand, that it's difficult to do that?
No, as I said, it's just, part of life now. My profession's such that all these things are bound to happen. So, I mean, yeah, I'm a bit of a reserved person, but so far I've
You've
learned to
accepted
handle
it like
Yeah,
the
I
doctor
guess.
gives you bitter medicine, which you know you have to
Yeah,
have.
you don't have a choice.
Is it difficult in these circumstances to make friends, to be able to just, go out quietly, see a movie without attracting attention?
uh, it sometimes is, but I have, my friends and we always hang out together. So that's never been a problem, friends. I have whatever we used to do, we still do. I mean, just that there are some
And these are,
restrictions.
what, non-cricketers, people who you can just be yourself with.
Yeah, I guess. The people have been,
Do you find that it's important to have some people who don't look upon you as a big star or hero so that you can just relax and be yourself?
Exactly. I mean, my friends, they've been friends before I played for India or just otherwise. I mean, so it doesn't really
So
bother
Ajit,
them
the
whether
big
I'm...
cricket success doesn't matter to them. They're just looking for their old friend.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just the same. Where I live, even the people where I live. It's
Now I have
just
to
the
ask
same
you
for them.
this, you're only 22. Does your fame put off girls and make it difficult to go out with girls, or does it actually encourage girls?
Oh, I don't know. You'll have to ask girls that much. No, I have, as I said, I have friends who I go out with. So I don't have a problem with that. It's just that, it's difficult to find time right now. The amount of
Cricket
you're
is
playing.
number
Yeah.
1, number 2, and number 3 in your life.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ajit, good luck. Thank you very much for a lovely interview.
Thanks very much. It was a pleasure.